Another day, another golf cart video. So as you can see, we got the front end all apart on the Pats cat, and you can see that the corresponding Pats on the old number 69 are also removed. So the reason for that is when you get these lift kits, they have this riser right there that you bolt on to the knuckle, and it has a horizontal bolt and a vertical bolt, and it sucks. But on a workhorse, which is what the parts cart is, it is a one-piece cast piece that has the risen knuckle incorporated. So, in an effort to tighten up the front end so that it's not as bad as a second-gen Dodge, we are... You got something to say?
Yeah.
What about it?
I got a tight second gen.
Yeah, you and no one else. Like I was saying.
Motherfucking Talbot Industries.
Come again?
Motherfucking Talbot Industries, that's why.
Subscribe.
We only got tight over here.
We're getting rid of these crappy ones for these less crappy ones. Capiche? So now we have the factory lift spindles installed. Interestingly enough, one of them was replaced at some point with a stamped steel one, which was bent. So we robbed one of the original aluminum spindles that originally was on this cart and used it as a donor. And Kyle repacked the wheel bearings on the front, so that's good to go. And now, let's see if I get the shot. Not that you guys really knew what it was like before, but we have much, much less slop in the steering. And that's a good thing, because when you're sending it at 15 miles an hour down the main road like a moron, steering slop is no bueno. So, looks like we need to realign a little bit. Looks like we got a little bit of toe in, but that's easy enough to take care of. Something else is, for whatever reason, when we tightened down the rear engine mount, which we did make before the front mount, the engine would kind of like that a little bit, and it was probably like a quarter of an inch off or so, maybe less than that. And it was one of those things where it probably realistically would never have affected anything, but it was just annoying. And it was kind of like, we're trying to do this the right way, and to have the motor be off was kind of annoying. So what I did is I took one of my 16 spare shackles, or perches, or whatever these things are, and I took a paint pen and I just marked the inside radius a little bit on this right hand side, ground it down probably about 1/8 of an inch or so, so that when you torque this thing down, it favors the one side, and doing that leveled the motor out real nice. So now we have good belt alignment, and the engine is square both this way and this way. So good to go.
Hold on. Hi, dear.
Hell yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got some Pats for the cat. So here's what we got. We got a aluminum radiator for a Austin Mini, which for you uncultured American swine is the original Mini Cooper. We got ourselves a fan for said radiator. Got ourselves some, I think this is 1.5 or 1.25 exhaust for the exhaust. We got 2 of these. Got some miscellaneous radiator hoses to figure the plumbing for this out. And then we got ourselves a little 1-wire alternator so that we can charge the battery. So here's an update. Got the radiator somewhat installed. Got these 2 mounts tacked in. Kyle's working on the mount for this side. Got the alternator just kind of sitting there. I got to come up with a tensioner bracket and get a belt for it. Got the fuel bowl kind of in place to run our fuel lines. So just plugging away. It's definitely starting to fill up the engine compartment, but we'll get her done. Well, it's a couple days later and we're finalizing the cooling system. So basically everything here is pretty much as it's going to be, except for that 90, which is a piece of conduit. But this is some 1-inch stainless, and then these are, again, just various radiator hoses that I don't know what they're originally for, but they fit 1-inch pipe, and they had a lot of bends in them, so I like to buy those and cut them up instead of buy silicone ones online if I can avoid it, just because you save time on not having to wait for it. And typically you can get a hose for like 10 bucks that's got like 2 or 3 bends in it, which you know, it's a little bit of a gamble versus buying pre-cut special hoses, because you don't quite know what you're going to get when you buy these. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. In this case, they worked quite well. But anyway, it's usually a better way to buy them. So when we're gonna go out and get some parts here in a couple minutes, and we're gonna find a hose that's got a 90, so we can delete that conduit and then just run another piece of stainless to match everything else. Got the radiator mounted solid. Got our fan in, and now what we're gonna do is just plumb the fuel system, and then it'll be ready for a test fire, and hopefully we can let it run for a little bit. So here's the basically completed cooling system. Looking pretty good. So working on getting the belt tension figured out for the accessory drive, and then the fuel system, and then we gotta figure out what we're doing for an exhaust and go from there. So we're just getting ready to fire it up, and this is what we've got at the moment. So the cooling system's in, fuel system's plumbed. We're just working on coming up with a quick little harness to make the lift pump go. We've got the exhaust that Kyle's been working on. This is, I think, 1.25 inches. It's either 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches or something like that, from Summit. And just a couple of, this is one J-bend, but I bought 2 of these, and nice and easy to work with. They give you some nice bends and stuff. So just getting ready to give her the first fire up and see what we get. Okay.
You want to bleed it at all, or just
Let her rip. Well, there you have it. This is gonna wrap up this part of the series. So as you see, mechanically she's good to go, and we just did some super scientific testing, and we found that the engine with the fan going all the time runs like 140, which is a little cool, but better than too hot. And we can always change that to run on a temperature switch if need be. Yesterday we tested the alternator, and thing charges like a bear as expected. And throttle response is good. Thing barely smokes. The motor mounts works pretty well because the thing doesn't really vibrate as much as the single cylinder did. So everything seems to be coming together pretty good on it. The goal for this week is going to be wrap up some of the wiring, get the thing starting and stopping on a key. I've got to adjust the springs there on the shifter cables because it doesn't really want to grab reverse all the time. So we'll do that. At some point we're gonna have to come up with a skid plate for it, which we got some ideas for. But yeah, so it runs, it drives, doesn't seem to leak anything. So big step forward for the old COVID cat.